Hi everyone, welcome to a new video. This will be about Saturn moving into Pisces. Yes, Saturn does move out of Aquarius soon, basically in March 2023. Saturn will leave Aquarius and enter Pisces. So if you want to know a bit more about that, stick around for this video. I'm going to talk about general influences of Saturn in Pisces, on a bigger picture level. And then I'm going to go to the Saturn transit for you individually and what it would mean for different signs. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm not going to make it too long, but I'm just going to hopefully get to the point. Right, let's just begin with the dates. So you might want to write this down if you're interested in astrology. Saturn enters Pisces on the 8th of March 2023, and it will stay in Pisces till February 14th, 2026. So it's not Valentine's Day. That's a bit funny. So yeah, it's the usual kind of amount of time that Saturn is in a sign. And so what will this mean for the collective, and what will this mean for you individually? That's what I'm going to talk about now. So just to let you know a little bit of technical information for those that do know their own astrology chart. In 2023, Saturn in Pisces will go up. The highest degree it will get to next year in 2023 is 6 degrees of Pisces. So, if you're born at the end of Pisces or even the middle of Pisces, especially at the end, it's not going to affect you until, the next couple of years after 2023. If you're born beginning of Pisces, though, next year is a very intense energy for you. It's a strong time of change. It's a time of, new lessons and challenges, but also growth for you. With Saturn, people tend to have a lot of fear of Saturn, which, can be understandable. I just went through Saturn conjunct Moon transit, which I'm still going through because I've got my Moon in Aquarius. It hasn't been easy. So I've been working harder. I've had a lot of pressure. I've more responsibilities, a lot of things going on in my life that have made it very hectic and feel like at times, a lot of obstacles. So Saturn does present challenges, but the thing is, the best way to deal with them is to kind of adopt a bit of a stoic attitude, which is easier said than done, of course, to handle the feeling of pressure, the feeling of added responsibility, the feeling of dealing with heavy issues in your life or with people close to you, depending on what part of your chart Saturn is transiting. So that is important to know. What part of your chart, what house, do you have planets that are directly contacted, squares, transits from Saturn squaring your personal placements, or conjunctions, oppositions, all that kind of thing. And so anyway, if you need the help of an astrologer, you can contact me. I've been studying astrology for over 20 years. I've been consulting professionally for over 11 years. I have over 500 5-star reviews on my online store. I study astrology constantly. I consult constantly. I get to see, how different things affect people. Have been doing that, as I said, for over 11 years. So I have a good understanding of, how things can play out. And obviously there are so many variations in astrology, but as I said, if you need the help of an astrologer, go to the link below. I'm also an intuitive psychic medium as well. So if you want other levels of reading, as well as the analysis of astrology, I also do that as well. As I said, link below the video. So let's get more in depth. All right, so as I said, those most affected this coming year in 2023 are the early degrees from 0 to 6 degrees of Pisces. So again, if you're born in that first week of Pisces, this is you, especially the first, few days of Pisces. Those people, this year is a big time of change. So let's talk about Saturn. Saturn is about boundaries. Saturn is about structures in your life. It can be about restrictions. It can be about responsibility. It's about your tangible reality as well. And it's about learning in a deeper way, and learning sometimes through resistance, through challenge, through restrictions. It can feel, a lot of the time when you have Saturn transits, you feel more tired. That is very common. You can feel like the weight of the world is a little bit on your shoulders. Now, that said, it's not going to feel like that the whole time. It's going to be when you have the transit approaching, especially, sometimes you can feel it from when it's 4 degrees away from, say you're 6 degrees of Pisces sun. You might feel this when it's at 2 degrees of Pisces or 3 degrees. You'll feel it oncoming. You'll feel the pressure. Sometimes, depending how well you handle Saturn in your own chart, if you've got someone that's got Saturn aspects, you know how to deal with this already. You know this energy already. So you're kind of used to the hard work that's involved with Saturn. If you don't have any aspects of Saturn, or if you don't have much Capricorn, because Capricorn's ruled by Saturn, in your chart, then it can be a bit harder to deal with. okay? But most people would have had Saturn transits already at some time or another in their life, you know, unless you're very, very young. So don't be too worried about it. Just take the information with a grain of salt in a way to help you if you're going to be dealing with Saturn in Pisces. And as I said, Pisces most affected, but also anyone that has 0 to 6 degrees of Gemini, anyone that has 0 to 6 degrees of Sagittarius, 0 to 6 degrees of Virgo, will be, you know, the signs most affected this year of 2023. And then 2024, 25, 26 will be later degrees, as I said. So, you know, Saturn also deals with the end of cycles, you know, the culminations, ending of a cycle, ending of a phase of life. But they can be quite, you know, quite sort of significant endings, let's just say. And with Saturn, you seek to find more authenticity in what you're doing. So, yeah, it can be on a personal level. I'm just going to mention a couple of things on a personal level, and I'll go back to global and then return to personal. Sorry, I tend to be sometimes with my Aquarius moon a bit stream of consciousness with the way I talk about things, even though I can be very structured, and I have my notes in front of me that I wrote down too. So anyway, Saturn in Pisces is about finding more of a sense of purpose in your life. And, you know, it's an energy here of feeling more connected to something higher, feeling more connected to the divine, and, you know, sense of purpose as in not just financial or security, you know, in and of itself. Say Saturn can relate to career and work as well. But in Pisces is a feeling of, you know, I want to feel connected to my purpose in a bigger way. I want to feel connected to my purpose in a way that feels more aligned to my heart, to my soul. You know, Pisces is the soul. It's higher consciousness, your intuition. So it's important at this time with Saturn in Pisces, as we go into Saturn in Pisces 2023, to find, you know, where is your soul calling you towards, and to be in touch with that. If you're disconnected from that, it's going to be harder for you. So this is a time to get in touch with your soul and also align that with your reality. And so, you know, it's very interesting because we have a bit of a dichotomy here, because Pisces is about boundarylessness, and then Saturn is about boundaries. So you can see how they're quite different energies here. Yeah, so let's go and talk about, I want to talk about the bigger picture, so collective themes, global themes, what we might see. So Saturn in Pisces can be about, as I said, Saturn's a restriction, Pisces, what's unrestricted or what's very open. There could be things like more focus on religions, as in, you know, possibly even authorities clamping down on religions in some way. And I feel like that's already been happening a little bit in the last couple of years. I've seen a few things about that while Saturn was in Aquarius, which, you know, that's interesting because Saturn rules groups. And I already talked about that in my Saturn in Aquarius video that I made way back now. But Saturn in Pisces, you know, can be beliefs, people's ideologies, and some kind of restriction around that. Saturn can represent the government, very much so, authorities. Pisces is the collective oneness, and there could be something that we see with the government trying to control the openness of society in some way. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but, you know, if you've got your finger on the pulse, you already would know that things of that nature are going on behind the scenes. It's not hard to sort of find that information. And, you know, Pisces is also the film industry. It's also music, film. Pisces is about illusion, but also can be on a lower vibration, deception. So Saturn and Pisces together can actually be where there has been deception in the structures of society, with authority figures, with people that are elevated in some kind of position, higher position in society. If it can actually indicate revelations of more deceptions within structures where there's authority. Let's just say it like that. So I did mention the film and music industry. There could be restrictions placed on certain things, or it could be, you know, a time where movies that come out that are not really authentic are just going to be like, you know, flops. They're not going to do very well. Okay. Because people will sort of, the collective will be like, they just won't have time for it. They'll just be like, oh, this is rubbish. You know, if it's not good quality, it's not going to do well. Whereas in the past, you know, there's films for all sorts of different tastes and things of that nature. It might just be like there's some kind of change in these industries, some kind of less movies being made, maybe. It could be, you know, some kind of restrictions in some way. I'm not sure exactly, but I definitely feel there's something to do with, I mean, Saturn is ending, so it can indicate some kind of change there. And again, don't forget that this will last till 2026, so it may not happen in 2023. You know, structures, Saturn is structures that we've relied upon that have appeared to be stable. Pisces can be things sort of melting away, you know, kind of dissolving. Pisces is ruled by Neptune. It's this dissolution of Saturn, old structures. So we might see certain things that we've had in society for a long time relating to, you know, think about Saturn in Capricorn. Saturn rules Capricorn. It's those things that are like the traditional things, the old things that have been around for a long time. There might be things that sort of just dissolve that relate to, as I said, those old traditions, old structures. Saturn in Pisces can be changes to do with belief systems and spirituality. And, you know, there's also something about structures that are not authentic can fail during the next few years. Structures that are not authentic can fail. This could be even, you know, just to go personal life again, if say you've got Venus in Pisces and, you know, you're in a situation where your relationship or your marriage has already been fading or not doing well for a long time, and then Saturn conjuncts your Venus, that can indicate the end of that relationship, you know, just as an example. So because so Saturn tries to hold on, but Pisces dissolves. So Saturn will not be able to hold on to things that are not authentic in this next phase. Okay, so that's kind of like the main points that I had. If I think of anything else, you know, I'll mention it. But I do feel that there can be things coming out more in society to do with deception, as I said, or illusions that are being created by people in authority. So I will say that. All right, let's go to your personal side of things now for you. So as I said, if you're a Pisces up till 6 degrees, this year is very strong for you in terms of change. You might feel more tired. You might feel you have more responsibilities. You might feel you have to work harder. It is a time when you have to be careful of burnout, especially because Pisces are quite sensitive people as well. You'll need to find balance between your work and looking after yourself, because if you work too hard, then it can really cause a lot of anxiety for you, you know, a lot of stress, and your body might, you know, have reactions to that. So you have to listen to your intuition, not overwork yourself. You know, people sometimes think, oh yeah, you know, you've got to work so hard in Saturn transits. Well, you do, but if you go the extreme, it actually can really be not great for you at all. So, you know, trying to find that balance. And if you need help or support, you know, ask for it from people. If you feel like you're doing everything on your own, try to delegate something to someone else, whether it's at work or in your family, you know, whatever it is. Yeah, so as I said, 0 to 6 degrees Pisces, 0 to 6 degrees Geminis and Sagittarius and Virgo. This year will be some challenges and tests for you. But I'm just going to go through each sign now. So obviously, if you're a Pisces, Saturn will be in your first house. And if you know your chart and Saturn's transiting through your first house, this is also for you. So this creates a change on your path. It creates a desire to be more aligned to your authentic self. If there's things in your life or a situation in a relationship, because the first house is opposite the 7th house, or in a job situation or in a partnership of any kind, so like contract type partnerships, say for business, or contracts that you're involved in with others, you know, there can be changes in the next few years, starting from March 2023, with regards to contracts, your life path, relationships. So the pressure, you might feel the pressure building this coming year 2023 and the next 2 years, and to the point of a culmination or a change. And it's time for you to get really authentic with yourself and know what it is that you want on a soul level, and really start to accept that truth that you have within your soul that you feel, and work towards that change. And you might have fears coming up about this, because, you know, we tend to not really like change as human beings, but When Saturn's in an angular house, it does bring about significant changes to your life path. So I started with Pisces because it kind of made sense for, for the reading that I'm doing today. But let's just jump ahead now to the first sign, which is Aries. So Aries, this is in your 12th house. So look, when Saturn is in your 12th house, it can really stir up a lot of stuff from your subconscious mind. It can cause a lot of stuff to just bubble up from the subconscious. And it's almost like you're trying to process and sort through things from your past, past as in childhood, even like to do with a parent. There could be issues with a parent. You could be dealing with the loss of a structure in your life because Saturn through the 12th house dissolves, previous structures that you may have relied on, Aries, but are no longer part of your, or not going to be part of your reality moving forward. So there's a need to accept this change. And you can have a lot of anxiety coming up because what's happening is your mind is sort of triggering you to look at these uncomfortable things that are coming up from your subconscious and to get you to sort of listen to your intuition rather than sort of ignore the hidden things. So there could be anxiety issues, there could be stuff from the past, memories, dreams, internal pressure for Aries. So just something to be aware of. And listen to your intuition, Aries, because there is something coming up for you in the next few years that is to do with an actual change in your life, but it's going to start from the level of your subconscious, through your dreams, through your intuition. You may have fears that you need to face, Aries, that are taking you to another level. And you can find that things that, if you relied on someone to create structure for you, or something outside of yourself that was creating structure for you, could even be in the workplace, or it could be anything else. This might be changing in the next few years for you. All right, Taurus, this is in your 11th house. So because Saturn in Pisces does make a sextile aspect to Taurus, this is positive. Actually, I'm just going to change screens for a second. Sorry, give me a second, because I had another thing here. So the signs that will benefit: Taurus, Capricorn, Scorpio, Cancer, and you can see the signs that will be challenged on the other side there: Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius. So I just put that there. So for Taurus, it is a sextile aspect from Saturn, so this is very supportive for you, okay? And actually, sorry, Taurus, it's your 11th house. So the 11th house is the house to do with friendship, and group situations. So there might be changes in group dynamics. So if you work with a group of people, there might be change in the dynamics there. Say you're used to someone being in authority in a work group situation. Well, there might be change with that dynamic. There might be a new boss that comes into a group situation, or a new leader, if you're in a community group, or, some kind of change in dynamic there. If in your friendships, you might be more focused on fewer friends because you might just be so, involved in other aspects of your life, Taurus, that you just only have time for like those really authentic friendships. So sometimes with Saturn in the 11th house, it can indicate endings of friendships that just are not going anywhere, or are draining you, or you're not feeling them. You can feel very selective about groups that you're involved with and friendships that you're involved with. And you might just kind of, if you've got too many friends and you feel drained by that, you might be like, I like those people, but I'm not going to be spending time with all of them this year. I'm, only going to be spending time with one or two. Or for the next couple of years, or Saturn's in Pisces. But other than that, this actually supports any creative endeavors that you want to fulfill. The 11th house is the house of wishes and gains. So anything that you put into your life path, Taurus, will actually have the potential to manifest quite well. And you can find success and public recognition this year if you're putting anything out there that's creative. Anything like publishing, putting things out to the world, doing creative projects can go quite well. The sextile aspect from Saturn to in Pisces to Taurus will actually bring about the need for you to implement certain things or push forward with certain things, but that effort that you put forward will actually benefit you greatly. So that's a real positive. So Saturn, let's go to Gemini next. So Saturn will be in your 10th house, Gemini. So the 10th house is career. It's your public reputation. It's how the world sees you. It's your marriage. If you're married, it's anything you're committed to. So long term. Okay, but particularly the 10th house is public image, your status, marriage, What else? Career. So it's time to take care in such matters, and it is a square, so an adjustment needs to be made. So whenever there's a square aspect, it says there are things that you need to adjust with here, Gemini. If you have not been happy in your career or a marriage or a commitment or something that has involved a contract, there can be this can be a time for you in the next few years where you make changes because you're like, well, this doesn't work for me anymore. I need to adjust something here. I need to make a change here. And anything that's not authentically you, like truly you can make significant changes here. Also, the 10th house is the father house. So with Saturn in Pisces, there could be issues with father figure. There can be changes in the life of a father, or problems with a relationship with the father, or problems with your father in some manner, in any way. And there can be endings and new beginnings with regards to angular house, 10th house. So this is quite significant for Gemini, and it does indicate some challenging energy. You also, Geminis might feel, again, especially 2023 up to 6 degrees of Gemini, might feel a bit exhausted on and off in 2023 because of the square from Saturn to the sun. If it is your sun, obviously, if it's your rising, that can also be moon, can be as well. But, watch your vitality, look after your health, Gemini, because when Saturn squares the sun, or when Saturn squares a personal planet, it definitely can challenge your vitality. So you do need to be looking after your diet, your well-being. You might feel more like you've only got enough energy just for the essentials, the essential important things in your life. You might not feel like you've got extra energy to just waste. So looking after your well-being is super important, Gemini. Let's go to Cancer. All right, so Cancer, Saturn will be in your 9th house of beliefs and travel. So for Cancers, it's not really the best time to travel. Again, if you need to get a whole chart looked at, obviously, look at your whole actual birth chart and transits, because this is for the solar astrology. So, if you're a Cancer rising, you'll probably feel this actually more, but you might feel if you have to travel, there's some restriction around that. You might feel restricted around your self-expression or your personal beliefs, or that you have to hold back from expressing what you really want to express, Cancer. It can be if you're someone who writes or does anything that's published, out in the world, you might be taking that very seriously this year. So anything creative that you're working on, you might be feeling very serious about, that you've got to get it just right before you sort of let it out to the public, or publish something, or write something. Can be legal issues for Cancerians. Not all, obviously, but can be. Can be wanting to learn something new this year, in the next couple of years. It can be like a new course, or taking on higher education, online courses, furthering studies, and maybe even learning about something that you're really spiritually drawn to as well. And it can be just changing to do with your belief system. So you might decide to change the way there might be just a natural progression of changing the way you see the world, or the way you see your life, or the way your philosophy on things might change. So you might get a handle on some new information that changes your perspective, Cancer. Leo, this is your 8th house, a very intense house for Leo. So the 8th house is the house of endings and beginnings. And it also shared resources, money, other people's money, taxes, credit, loans, things of that nature. So there could be some tests around taxation. If you haven't addressed your tax issues, Leo rising people, Leo sun people, then this next few years is a time to get your paperwork in order and not neglect that if you have. Not saying you have, but if you have. Also, the 8th house is it's the house of death and rebirth. It's a plutonic energy. So with Saturn there, it can definitely indicate endings. It can be the endings to do with the way you deal with your finances. It can be a big change around that. It can relate to inheritances, loss, change, deep change, psychological stuff that's coming up. Could feel like you need to do some work around that to heal things that are quite deep, but it can feel a bit blocked as well. So, it can be a bit of a draining energy. So again, I'll say look after yourself health-wise as well. There can be issues with other people in your life, like family members and so forth, Leo. Let's go to Virgo. So Virgo, this is in your 7th house of relationships. So Virgo rising, Virgo sun people, you're either going to the next level in a relationship in the next few years, or you are, ending relationships basically with Saturn in the 7th. It can indicate endings and challenges, like big challenges in relationships. It's kind of like make or break energy. So again, this can be very positive for you depending on the other things that you have in your chart. This can be marriage, contracts, because Saturn in the 7th house can actually mean that. But it can also be dissolution of, especially in Pisces, for those that are already, feeling that kind of energy in their lives. And for some Virgo risings, it can be issues with father, okay? And issues with authority and authority in the workplace, or your own authority in the workplace as well. Okay, moving on to Libra. This is in your 6th house, Libra rising and sun. So 6th house is the house of work, routine, health. So it's time for Librans to get serious about your well-being. So you might feel more sensitive health-wise. You might feel like, with Saturn in Pisces, it can be hard to see what the problem is sometimes. So you're going to have to be very in tune with your physical body at this time, Libra. And you might feel that your daily routine is not as structured as you like it to be. You might feel a bit chaotic, it depends on your personal chart as well. You might find it hard to get really organized, and this is a time to write lists, Libra rising, Libra sun people, because you might be a bit scattered with your routine, you might be a bit scattered with health. It's a time to get really focused on health. As I said, like look at things like organic foods, clean eating, how different chemicals that you use with beauty products or health products affect your body, your mind, your nervous system. Definitely can be, if you've been neglecting yourself, Libra rising or sun, you're going to feel that in the next few years physically. So you might start getting more serious about your exercise, health. And again, don't go to extremes, Libra, because sometimes with Saturn in the 6th, we can go to extremes and then it backfires on us. And then we have to, kind of fix the problems that we created by going to the extremes with health. So just avoid that, but definitely look at, what needs to be organized and what you need to purify or detoxify. Sometimes it can be detoxing people out of your life who are not good for you as well. The 6th house can relate to that, which is not a commonly known thing, but it definitely relates to detoxification in general. So yeah, definitely all those things. Okay, Scorpio, it's in your 5th house. So Saturn 5th house for Scorpio rising and sun can be, if you're more mature, it can be a solid romance that's like, got this kind of foundation to it, right? That's if you've already known the person, I'd say. However, some Scorpio risings can feel the opposite, where it's like either a commitment in terms of, or some kind of energy of like foundation. It doesn't necessarily mean commitment because it is the 5th house, but it can be a new relationship that has future potential to be committed. For some, it can be an old relationship that's got a strong foundation to it that becomes more real. For other Scorpio risings and sun, it can be feeling a bit lonely. So, and a bit like you'd rather be alone than deal with rubbish from people, basically. So, it can be any of those things. And yeah, so, but at the same time, there's some learning for the Scorpios to do in regards to romance. When it comes to creative things, you're going to feel more like planning. Is Saturn in the 5th house. You're going to feel like, I need to be organized with what I'm putting out there. I want to be more organized with my creative processes. I want to be more serious with my creative processes. I don't want to waste energy and just faff around, or just experiment anymore. I want to do something more legitimate, if that's, where you've been at. So I see a lot of planning energy for Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun around creativity, wanting more structure in your life, wanting a bit more seriousness in romance in some way. So when I say seriousness, it might just be going to another level with a relationship, or it can be ending a relationship that is wasting your time. Basically, it can be that as well. But definitely change in regards to love, and a lot of lessons in regards to love as well. Saturn in the 5th house, take it slow in love. There's no rushing love for Scorpios for the next few years. It's going to take its sweet time. All right, Sagittarius, you've got Saturn in the 4th house. So changes to do with your home life, okay? This can relate to endings with regards to situations with family members, parental issues, mother, father. Saturn is traditionally the father energy fourth house is traditionally mother. Can be issues with both parents for some. This can be where you feel you have to get more serious about what you want for your home life. Do you want to move? Do you want to work towards that? There can be home moves in the next few years for Sagittarius rising and sun people. There can be changes to family dynamics. There can be endings and new beginnings, and issues and problems with parents or family members, older family members or elder family members. Getting more organized at home, creating space for yourself at home where you can work, things of that nature, creative spaces as well. But there is a strong energy of responsibility to do with home, family, and that kind of thing. And Capricorn, this is in your third house of the mind. So you're feeling very serious, Capricorn, rising and suns. You could be feeling like it's time to be very focused on what I'm thinking, where my mental focus is. Capricorn rising and suns will not want to be scattered mentally. In the next few years, you'll feel like you need to be serious about your communication, and you need to be very responsible with your communication. You may be interested in like a new course or learning, because Saturn can relate to that in the third house. There's a lot of mental seriousness with this, but be careful that you don't let yourself get down, because sometimes Saturn in the third house can be too much seriousness on the level of the mind that it becomes too somber and a bit down and a bit depressive. So just watch out for that. It's common with Saturn transit to the third house, but doesn't mean you're going to be depressed, but it can just be watching that inner self-talk. Don't be so hard on yourself mentally, Capricorns. Capricorns are a bit hard on themselves, that's for sure. But don't add to that yourself by saying negative things like, oh, nothing ever works out for me, these kind of negative self-talk. You're going to have to address that. If that's going on for you, it's going to be something that you have to address, because if you're prone to that sort of negative thoughts and negative energy, it's going to become a bit heavy for you. So again, you might take up meditation, because Saturn in Pisces can be like creating that structure of meditation in your daily life, or in your day-to-day life, where it actually helps you to overcome this mental restrictive energy. Also, Saturn in the third house can make you feel very sort of your outlook be very pessimistic, or a bit dry, like a bit too, you can be very focused on the facts of the matter. But Saturn in Pisces is asking you to blend your spirituality with your practical life and your thoughts. So bringing in affirmations can help you feel more mentally strong, and that could be a good thing for Capricorn rising and sun. And making sure that your communications with others is not too blunt or too forceful, and that you remain mentally flexible at this time as well, because Saturn in the third house can dampen that down, our openness, our open-mindedness. So yeah, something to be aware of. Could be issues with siblings, neighbors, or the local community, things going on in your local area. You could feel like there's mental pressure as well. But again, Saturn challenges us so that we can become stronger and also work out new ways of operating that actually work better for us. Okay, and Aquarius, this is in your second house of finances. So Aquarius rising and sun. And also the second house is what you value. It's also your physical body's health and well-being. So this is time for Aquarians to look after themselves physically, to not go to extremes physically, to look after your spiritual side and your physical well-being. Detoxification. Again, don't go to extremes, because it can make things worse, but detoxifying the body, looking at what nutrients you need. Are nutrients being absorbed properly into the body? Because Saturn restricts, and then Pisces is the sort of unseen aspects of things that we can't see that are going on internally. Also, it can be finances. So there can sometimes be pressure financially. There can be a feeling of working very hard. There can be a feeling of your self-worth coming up, as an issue in some way, Aquarius. So all these things can be coming up. You might feel like you have to work harder for some reason to get your finances in a good spot. There's definitely going to be a focus on finances, and not wasting money is going to be very important with Saturn in Pisces in the second house. Very important to not waste money in the next few years. And be careful what you invest in financially, I would say, because of Saturn in Pisces in the second house. It can be where if you invest in the wrong thing or if you don't listen to your instinct, you can end up losing money. So don't do that. Same with Leos as well. So that's it. That's it for the global and personal. So as I said, if you'd like to book a reading, the link is below. I go into more detail. This is just for, solar astrology. You really do need to look at your own chart to know what's happening with the transits, the progressions, and all that stuff. So I hope the video was helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm going to finish up. Talk to you next time.